us with any prosecution. Just a quick note about the challenge that we noted about not being able to revoke the permit. Ontario Building Code is quite clear on what circumstances the chief building official has the ability to revoke the permit. Number one is when that permit was issued on a false information or incorrect information, or was issued by an error or by mistake. So in that case, we have the ability to revoke the permit. If we issue the permit and 6 months passes that issuance date and the construction does not start or the demolition does not start, then we have the ability to consider revocation. If throughout the construction, for any reason, the construction gets substantially suspended and does not progress through, then we also have an ability to revoke a permit. We talked about being issued in error, and also if the permit applicant or the owner would request directly to our office to consider the revocation of their permit. This is another option that we can look into revocation of a permit. Or the last one is that if we issue a conditional permit and they don't comply with the conditions that are set in that agreement, gives the CBO the ability to revoke the permit. With that, I'm going to pass it back to Robert to tell us about the shared accommodation. Thank you, Robert.
Thank you very much. So shared accommodations and co-living arrangements. Lodging houses, just very quickly, what they are is they're a single detached dwelling where residential accommodation is provided or is intended to be provided, and each lodger does not have access to all of the habitable areas of the building. It consists of more than 4 lodging units or a single detached dwelling in which lodging is provided for more than 4 persons, with or without meals. What they are not is a group of people, friends, students, co-workers residing together as a group or a single housekeeping unit. Shared accommodations where there is 4 or less units or lodgers per dwelling unit. So what we see here is we have service requests across the city for lodging house complaints. But we also notice that most, 73%, are closed as they do not meet the definition within the zoning bylaw. Clearly there's a formal lodging house definition, and then there's common vernacular that they call them lodging houses. What isn't shown, however, is although we close 73% of them because they don't meet it, is that we then open new proactive service requests that address the ancillary issues that also exist: parking, refuse, overgrown grass, and weeds. And with that, I will turn it over to Matt to discuss further aspects.
Thanks, Rob. We thought it was worth mentioning with respect to the lodging houses that the courts have been asked to analyze what is the difference between a lodging house and single housekeeping unit, as Rob had sort of covered. There's various factors that are looked at. They're listed there. I would say, generally speaking, what the court's looking at is there a collective sort of group aspect to this accommodation or not? So do the renters actually have access to all of the premises? Do they make collective decisions together? Are they able to access inside and outside? Do they maintain the outside of the property? Do they pay as a unit to the landlord rather than as individuals? So those are the sorts of things the courts will look at. If they are viewed as group decision making, as a collective, that's in the nature of a single housekeeping unit. That wouldn't be, determined to be a lodging house scenario. Moving on to the next slide. Sorry, Tammy, would you? Thanks. We're into part 3, and we wanted to address some of the provincial legislation that, provides a framework in some of the areas that have been raised by committee and council. So with respect to the Planning Act, there's a couple provisions that are, important to note. One of them, 16 sub 3 of the Planning Act, it's makes ARUs mandatory